we're talking about it, that happened, you know. So that whole day the lights just kept turning off and on by itself. So I honestly thought it was a technical issue. I honestly thought, okay, the wiring, I don't know, the outlet, maybe something's messed up. I genuinely thought, I was like, okay, this is not paranormal, until it kept on happening when we were talking about ghost things. Only, I swear, it only happened when we were talking about some paranormal stuff. Example A, when my dad saw the video of the tortilla moving, when we were talking about it, right when we were done talking about it, the lights started to flicker. Not flicker, it started to turn on and off. Like the light was on, but then it would turn off for like 2 minutes and then it would turn back on. That's how the lights were turning off and on. And it started right when we were done talking about the paranormal things. My dad noticed it. He was like, that's kind of weird. But that was example 1. That was our first, okay, like this is getting weird, right? So whatever, we just brushed that away. And then the last time that I have seen the lights do that again was when my mom was watching my video on the TV. The lights started to act up again. What a coincidence. And it wasn't like those videos of like my beauty videos, it was the scary videos. It was one with, I had the brown shirt. I was reading my subscribers' scary stories. Anyways, but it was a scary video that she was watching on the TV downstairs, and it was, the lights started to act up again. So I don't know if that's paranormal or not, because it only happens when we're talking about paranormal things or when I'm on the TV like talking about paranormal things. And you guys always tell me that certain things happen to you guys when you guys are watching my videos. That blows my mind, because I'm like, that's crazy that you guys are experiencing. And I almost feel bad because I don't want you guys to be experiencing it. I just, you know, I know we like hearing it, but it's one thing when we actually experiencing it. Now we kind of don't like it anymore, you know? So if you guys are experiencing some paranormal things while watching my videos or because of my videos, if you believe in prayer, definitely start praying if that is needed, and hopefully that works. I just wanted to let you guys know that's going on in my house ever since the whole sweat video. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's paranormal, or do you think it's a technical issue? It can be a technical issue. I'm totally not like saying it's 100% paranormal, but I do think it's really weird that the only times that that light turns off is when something paranormal is being discussed, you know? So I don't know. Okay, so now let me tell you guys what is going on in my grandpa's house. Thankfully this time nothing is going on in his house, like in his house. It's now outside of his house. What I'm about to tell you guys happened really recent to the lady's passing. The lady being my grandfather's late wife. If you guys haven't seen the Bruja series, definitely check that out. You'll have a better understanding of who that woman was. A better understanding, not a full understanding, because I literally shared this much of who that woman was. But anyways, this was very recent to the lady's passing. I don't know if you guys remember when my cousin and his wife were getting out of my grandpa's house and they smelled that cheap perfume around the time of the lady's death. They didn't know it at the time that she had passed away, but looking back at it, making the calculations that she died at 7 in the afternoon, around there, they smelled that perfume. And the reason why they knew that was because they usually leave that time from my grandpa's house, so they knew that was around the time they smelled that cheap perfume. But a couple days later after that, again, once they were leaving my grandpa's house late at night, I think this time it was a little bit later, my cousin's wife, I named her Bea for the sake of the videos. So Bea was telling me that that night was extremely dark, that they noticed it right away, like, whoa, it's like really dark outside. The moon must have not been out because it was that dark. So once they were closing up my grandpa's gate, locking everything up, they started to hear a cry coming from the end of the street. My grandpa lives on the very edge of the street, not the very edge, because next to my grandpa's house there's this empty lot, and beside that empty lot, that's where the street ends. Now on that corner, they started to hear a woman cry. They said they don't know if it was a dog crying or I don't know what, but they looked at each other and they were like, do you hear that? And they immediately booked it to their house. Their house was like really close, so they just booked it. So I don't know, it's just really close to my grandpa's house. I don't like that. Hopefully it's not who we think it is. Particularly, I don't think it is, but it is really weird that they never heard things like that before until the lady's passing. But it could be just a coincidence, or it could be an animal crying that sounds like a woman. You never know. Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna tell you guys, which actually scares me, but scares me for my grandpa. You guys will see why. So my grandpa recently has told my cousin and his wife Bella that in the night, my grandpa has noticed it's usually like around 3:30 in the night, and y'all know that timing is not a good time. All right, so my grandpa said that he has noticed that around that time he hears someone outside of his house, like in the entry doorway, because my grandpa's house is really small, so you can hear if someone is yelling from the entry doorway, like where the entrance door is at. If someone is calling or talking, you can hear that. Well, my grandpa says that he hears a man's voice say, Fidel, Fidel, Fidel. My grandpa's name is Fidel. Okay, Daisy from the future, I don't know what happened, but the clip is gone, so let me just tell you guys what happened. So my grandpa was telling my cousin that he was hearing someone call out his name in the night, which was around 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 in the morning, and it was happening multiple nights. Someone was calling his name, Fidel, 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 so many times. Oh my god, that scared the crap out of me. Hold on. Sorry for that rude interruption, but let me just continue. So someone was calling out his name in that time. So my grandpa was saying this story to my cousin, and honestly my grandpa was unfazed. My grandpa was like, yeah, someone's calling me in the middle of the night, but I just go back to bed. So that makes me feel so much better that he doesn't seem scared. And honestly, I don't think he's scared. Like, knowing my grandpa, like I know my grandpa, and if he's scared, he will let you know. But he was not. He was just like, yeah, someone's calling me in the night. But once my cousin was hearing this, my cousin like played it off like, oh, grandpa, like it was me, don't worry about it. But like he implied, oh, don't open the door because you don't know, you just don't open the door in the night, grandpa, like how about that? And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm so upset that I'm pretty sure I'm missing some stuff, but I'm so upset that the clip is gone, but whatever. Anyways, that's that. So let's start off with our first scary story from my new cousin Miguel. If you haven't seen my last video, you probably don't understand that reference, but anyways, I have a new cousin now, so let's just begin. I'm gonna give you another story. No mas, it didn't happen to me, it happened to my sister. So my mom used to babysit a little kid around 2 to 3 years old. This one Friday, while my mom was babysitting him, I wasn't home, so my sister was playing around with him, and they decided to play hide and seek. While my sister was counting, she saw this little boy run into my room. Keep in mind, I'm very delicado with my stuff. Keep in mind, I am very particular with my stuff, and I rarely let kids in my room, lol. So my sister started calling him, and she started speaking louder because this little boy wouldn't get out of my room. After calling him 2 to 3 times, the little kid that my mom was babysitting, opens the front door and tells my mom, "¿Qué? What?" He was outside the whole time, and my sister was super scared to go into my room. She just went outside. To this day, we do not know who that little boy was. We don't have any records of a kid dying in our house, but we do have a record of an old man dying in our house. I have seen the old man, so tell me if you want to hear that story. Thank you for listening. Te quiero. I love you too. Thank you for sharing. I definitely do want to hear that story. Let me know. We would all love to hear it. But I honestly think, we were talking back and forth, and I honestly think that the little boy was maybe the younger version of the old man. Maybe that's just a theory that I have. I'm not certain, but that's just a theory that I have. That is super creepy, but you never know, it might be the old man in a younger version of himself. That is so creepy. Thank you so much, Besos. So now for our next story. Hey girl, so I wanted to tell you about this experience that I had when I was a 15 or 16. I don't remember. But anyways, well, I went to Guatemala to visit my grandma. So one day I was falling asleep and I heard like someone punch the wall. So I woke up and I turned around to check. And at the end of the bed, there was this man standing there, and half of his face was disfigured. I think that's the word. So I screamed and immediately started crying, and my grandma was sleeping right next to me, so she woke up. And she saw him as well, and she told him something in dialect. She said, "Get out of my house, you do not belong here." And he screamed, and he looked at me, and he smiled. And at that moment, I felt like someone was choking me, and my grandma told me just to look at her, and I couldn't. I couldn't move my eyes or my body, nothing. So my grandma started praying, and I remember that I fainted. And honestly, since that day, I just became traumatized. I still remember his face. That is what? No, like, what was that? Who was that? I wonder if your grandma encountered this before, because she certainly knew what she was doing. She said, not today, get out of my house. So kudos to your grandma, like, she was on it. I would have been like fainting with you, to be honest. But girl, thank you so much for writing in, not only once but twice. So I definitely appreciate you. Besos, girl. Okay, so now for the next story. Hi Daisy, my name is also Daisy, lol. Hey girl, I love how you tell your stories. They give the best creepy vibes. Thank you so much. Honestly, I feel like I'm so mediocre in this, but when you guys tell me that, it literally melts my heart. So besos, literally besos to every one of you guys. Anyways, when I was 7, I shared my room with my baby sister, who was only 2 at the time. I was also very scared of the dark, so we had a nightlight. Same girl, I have a nightlight now. Ain't ashamed. It was a normal nightlight, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary until around 11:30-ish. I heard scratches outside my window, which my bed was right under. I looked outside the window, but nothing was there. I laid back down, and when I looked at my baby sister's crib, and on the edge of the gate, I saw a shadow of what seemed to be a cat. I remember hearing stories from my abuela and abuelo, her grandparents, that they used to have a Siamese cat, I think that's how you say it, who were very loyal and protective. So I looked around the room to see if maybe there was a stuffed animal, but there was nothing there. I shook it off and left it alone. I am now 16 and I still sleep in that room until that scared me. The dogs are barking. I think someone's outside. All right, let's continue. Where did I leave off? That scared me, and it sounded like a cat. That's what scared me. I am now 16 and still slept in that room until last year because I moved out. But I had one more experience that I could never forget. Well, in that same room, I was about 10 years old. My bed was in the same place as it was when I was 7. I had the hardest time sleeping. I kept hearing noises in the attic, but assumed maybe it was an animal. When I finally felt myself falling asleep, I was awoken by a light shining in my face. When I opened my eyes to see what was going on, I saw an angel in the middle of my room. Her light was so majestic, and she seemed so gentle. She looked over my baby sister and then back at me and smiled. Suddenly, the room went dark again. I had told my abuela and abuelo about it, what I just had seen, and they looked shocked, but calmly said, "Your great-grandmother came to visit in our room last night too." They showed me a picture of her, and it was exactly who I had seen. Thank you so much for reading my stories. It means a lot to me. Oh my god, that is so sweet. Thank you for writing in. Like, I felt like I had goosebumps the entire time reading the angel story. If you guys have stories about angels, your experience about angels, let me know. I love those, are the best stories. But to know that it was your great-grandmother watching over you guys, that was so sweet. She just smiled at you guys. Like, love those stories. So thank you so much for sharing that sweet story. Thank you so much, Daisy. That's so cool. Anyways, but thank you so much, girl. So now moving on to the next story. Hi Daisy, I enjoy your videos and I always look forward to the ones where you share your subscriber paranormal experiences. Ever since finding your channel, I always wanted to share my strangest experience with you. I'm so happy you did. Thank you so much to even Again, write to me. I always say that, but it's true. Thank you so much, you guys. One night a few years ago, I believe it was 2018, my boyfriend and I were bored, so we decided to just cruise around town and listen to music. It had to be around 11 p.m. at night, and we stopped at a red light at an intersection. We were the only car stopped at the light. Ahead of us was a flat concrete divider in the middle of the road, and I saw what I believed to be a random statue that was placed there. I tapped my boyfriend on the shoulder and told him to look how creepy it was. It appeared to be a cloaked being where the face appeared to be a black abyss, and the only thing you could see was its bony chest and hands, kind of like the Grim Reaper. In its right hand it held a book, and in the left it held a staff of some sort, with its hand resting on top of it, symbolizing the devil's horns with its fingers. I seriously thought it was a statue because of how still and unhuman it looked. But as soon as the light turned green, we started driving past it. Both of us looked over and realized it was not a statue. But what made it even more strange was that the face of the person or thing was nowhere to be seen. The darkness of the shadow hiding, oh my god, I'm shook. The darkness of the shadow hiding whatever was under the cloak was endless. I was thinking that it was probably just some crazy person on the side of the road thought it would be funny to do a U-turn and start blasting our music out loud. We listened to metal and thought it would fit the moment, lol. But as soon as we did the U-turn, the being was nowhere in sight. As soon as we both realized that what we saw was no longer there, our hearts dropped and we looked at each other. We couldn't believe that that had just happened. In shock, we drove around the area trying to see if this thing or person was anywhere in sight. It wasn't. And we still don't know why we saw it or what it meant. I always had paranormal experiences in my life, but the fact that my boyfriend had never experienced anything in his life and he saw it too really freaked me out. Thank you for all your spooky videos. I can't wait to see all the future content you have in store for us. Love you, girl. Love you. Oh my god, that is so creepy. I wonder where this was at. Like, I wonder if it's a common sighting because it was out in the public. It just sounds like other people have seen it too. I hope it doesn't mean anything directly to you, because then that is really creepy. Hopefully it's just something that people see in your town and not directly meant for you. It's one of those things where you feel crazy because you saw it and you know you saw it, and not only that, your boyfriend saw it too. Someone else saw it. So it's like, for sure, you both saw it, you weren't hallucinating, and where is it at? Like, why can't you find an explanation? It's because unfortunately we don't have explanations. Sometimes we just don't, and that's the creepiest part, not having an explanation. So oh my gosh, thank you so much for writing in. This was definitely interesting. I would love to know like where this was at. Maybe it's a common thing. Oh my god, creepy, but thank you so much, girl. Love you. Okay, so now for the next story. Hi Daisy, how are you? I hope this email finds you well. I'm good. How are you? My name is Judy and I have a couple of scary stories and one that I will never forget, and it's about La Llorona. Couple years ago, I was like around 7 to 8 years old. I was living in Ureria, Mexico. I think that's how you say it. Un rancho que se llama La Faja. A little ranch that is called La Faja. Anyways, one night I was sleeping with my aunt in her room, but for some reason we couldn't sleep. So we just started talking and watching TV. But then we noticed that it was going to be 3 in the morning. So my aunt said, let's turn off the TV and go to sleep. So when we started to fall asleep, we heard someone in the street, but it was weird for us to hear people outside at that time. So we both got up and looked out the window. And what we saw La Llorona. She was floating down the street, like around 7 to 8 feet off the ground. And she was all in white, as if she was wearing a white gown. And we heard her say, "Ay, mis hijos." And we got so scared that my aunt closed the window and the curtains, and eventually we fell back to sleep. So the next day we asked my grandma, her mom, so her aunt's mom, that if she heard a lady cry in the night, and she said she didn't hear anything. And till this day, we tell our story and no one believes us. But a couple of years ago, my grandma did believe us. She said she also saw her. So far, she's the only one that believes us. I don't know if anyone will, but I hope you do because of what happened to your family members. Exactly, I definitely do. And I am so curious on why people hear her differently. Some people say they just hear her crying. Some people say they hear her saying "Ay mis hijos," which you heard her say, and also my sister and my aunt heard her say. So it's just like, I don't know. But that she was crying, she was definitely crying while she was saying it. Like she was like sobbing, like a, that's how she describes it. That's how my sister describes it and my aunt, that she was weeping at the same time as she was saying "Ay mis hijos." So I wonder why there's different versions of La Llorona, you know what I mean? Since people do hear her in different ways. But I definitely believe you. I totally have been there when people do not believe your paranormal encounter and you're just like, why would I lie? Like why would I want to make myself look crazy? Tell me, explain. But thank you so much, Judy. If you have any more paranormal encounters from the rancho or anywhere, definitely send them in. I would love to hear them. We would love to hear them. So thank you so much, girl, for writing in. So now for the next story. Hi, Daisy. First of all, I wanted to say I love your videos. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're loving them, girl. So I have a paranormal story time. I have many, but I'll just share a couple. So in my cousin's house, it's definitely haunted. There are 3 rooms in there, and it's in the suburbs, literally on the highway. Anyways, my cousin, aunt, and baby cousin that did not live there but were visiting were putting the baby to sleep, and they decided they wanted to take a selfie. They were alone in that room, and when they took the picture, they looked at it and didn't think anything of it. But what's creepy is that when my cousin was just looking at the picture a couple months later, she saw a black figure between her and her mom. You can't really see any features though. I'll try to insert a picture. Second story. At my cousin's house, I slept over a lot one summer. So here are 2 stories from there. So as I mentioned before, it's really haunted. Anyways, on the first night I was sleeping in my aunt's room with my cousin. At one point in the middle of the night, my cousin said I woke up and started pulling her hair, saying, "They're coming," yelling over and over again. What's creepy is that I never remembered, and no one else heard anything, and the rooms are literally across the hallway from each other. Third story, same house, just the next night. So my cousin didn't want to sleep with me after that, so I was sleeping with my other cousin that night. By the way, they're all girls. Anyways, so we were all in the living room watching a movie, and 2 of them were studying / doing homework. So I got tired and fell asleep on the couch. Then my cousins all went to their room to either sleep or just study. Afterwards, my cousin stopped studying and got ready to go to sleep. She remembered that I was still on the couch, so she went to wake me up. She said that it went like this. She said, "Vanessa, come on, we have to go to my room to go to sleep." She said I kept looking back at something and that after a bit I said, "Can you wait for her with me?" She said she did not want to sleep with me after that, but didn't want to leave me alone, just in case I was possessed. So she took me, but I never remember any of these things or saying them. That is so crazy. The fact that you don't remember what you said or why were you saying those things? That's my question. Like, why were you saying those things? Like, that is so specific. Can you wait for her with me? I don't know. Like, I wonder what was going on. Were you still dreaming? Like, maybe you were still dreaming, but with your eyes open. I honestly don't know. I wonder if your cousins ever experienced the same exact thing. Like, has that happened to them? And I wonder what's their paranormal encounters, since you are very sure that that house is haunted. So let's look at that picture that you sent me. Oh, hell no. No. Wait, you guys. I'm gonna pop up the picture, blur out their faces. This is crazy. Okay, let me read the caption of this. It looks like the silhouette of someone. And as you can see, there is an extremely bright light, as if an angel or something. But we know for sure it wasn't anyone standing in the hallways, because they would have known, because their dogs bark when someone enters the house. The fact that the the doorway, how you say, is super bright, as if it's like a entry to another dimension, like it's a portal. Maybe it's a portal. So just by the picture alone, the house is definitely haunted. I don't know what that was, but that creeped me out. It didn't give me a good vibe, let's just say that. Oh my god, no, that is creepy. And the fact